Welcome to Midnight Movie Talk Surprise Edition. On this Monday night, when we last talked last night, I said, I don't know if we're going to do a stream tonight or on Tuesday, but I have to get a few things off my chest regarding Amsterdam, which is David O. Russell's latest awards hopeful film. When you look at David O. Russell, right, we're talking about certainly over the past several years, when you go back even a decade and further, you're talking about a filmmaker who, when he makes a film, it's usually going to be in the awards conversation. So, right off the bat, you're looking at a film with Amsterdam with all of the talent involved: the Christian Bale, the Margot Robbie, Chris Rock, John David Washington, Rami Malek, Taylor Swift. You have all of these elements in this film. You're like, okay, this is going to work. It's David O. Russell. It's a bunch of really big stars. This film is going to be a hit. It's absolutely an unmitigated disaster. Okay, it is such a bad film. And I am under a social media embargo. So, what that means is I can't really talk about all the specifics, but I will at least give you my Twitter social media reaction to Amsterdam. And then I'll allow you guys to ask some questions. Like, why is it bad? And I'll do my best to skirt around it and to give you an answer. Given the heat on David O. Russell, Amsterdam's the worst possible development, an unmitigated disaster of a film. This thing's going to be absolutely going nowhere this award season. That is 100% accurate. This is a film that is going to go nowhere this award season. I mean, you're not going to see Amsterdam show up in a single critics group nomination for any category. That is how big of a flaming dumpster fire that we're dealing with here. That's my social media reaction on Amsterdam. So we need to talk about, so now we're not going to, discuss details because there is an embargo. So we have to tiptoe. Let's talk about something that I really have been thinking about discussing. And after watching Amsterdam, I think it's a conversation we need to have. And this is where your comments are going to come in. I hope you guys are ready. I'm going to go somewhere that, listen, the truth is the truth. Ultimately, right? We say that so often here, is that if you don't have the conviction to stand up and say what you believe to be the truth, then what's the point of doing a show? What's the point of being in the movie space and discussing films and trying to evaluate these things? All right, here it is. We need to start asking the questions. A very specific one here. Is John David Washington a good actor? Let that sit there for a second. Let it percolate. Because when I now have seen Amsterdam and going back to Tenet, I am watching an actor who is delivering lines in a very cardboardy way, right? It is almost like here's the line with no emotion. Like, I'm talking not just like low emotion, like almost like the flattest line delivery that you can even comprehend. And it's a problem because when you're in a scene with actors like Christian Bale here in Amsterdam, or let's go with Robert Pattinson in Tenet, who's fully committed, you watch the dynamic and you watch somebody who's fully invested, and certainly in Amsterdam, you see that with Christian Bale. And you've got Christian Bale just giving his all, doing this Jon Favreau lucky thing. If you see the trailers, it's like, who is that? Is that Jon Favreau? No, that's Christian Bale doing like a Jon Favreau / Adam Sandler thing, right? With his glass eye. Okay. But when Bale is fully committed, because if there's one thing Christian Bale is, he is absolutely all in on whatever role he is going to perform. There is no 50%, 75%, 89. No, it is 110%. It is full throttle, everything into the role, Christian Bale. So he's committed. And then you have John David Washington, who has to play off of him. And you just have this feeling when they're doing the scene that Christian Bale is going, that's it. That's all you got? Okay. I'll just keep doing what I'm going to do. And obviously you're going to do what you're going to do. But I not getting much in return from my reaction to you. You're giving me not much. It's just something that I think has to be addressed at some point. Okay. And it's not often that you see that happen in film, that we see an actor, actress, whoever is in front of the camera, that is not quite delivering at a film level. Because once you reach motion picture, once you reach film and cinema, you need to be a very skilled actor, or the camera will see right through you and will make it, magnify any shortcomings you have. Okay, here's a great example in Amsterdam. You guys might know that Taylor Swift is in the film, mentioned at the top. So I'm really honed in on Taylor Swift, right? I'm watching her because, listen, she is a tremendous pop star, one of the biggest celebrities out there, right? Musically, for sure. And you have her going, okay, she's going to try to be an actress. All right. So that means that we are really going to analyze your performance. We're going to say, did this work? And I got to say that Taylor Swift, in the very short amount of stuff she's worked, doesn't have a lot she's working with here. She is very strong at what she's required to do. And as much as this is going to sound crazy, but I'm just going to go ahead and throw it out there because that's what we do on MMT. I would say that in the scenes with Taylor Swift and John David Washington, Taylor feels more like the actor than John David Washington. I don't know what I'm telling you. When you watch Amsterdam, you're going to see it. There's no way to unsee it. And I think that, listen, if there's one thing we're always going to try to do here on Midnight Movie Talk, it is to be as real as possible with the evaluations and with our criticisms of the film. And I think that it's a major problem. Okay, it is. It just is. The bigger problem with Amsterdam is the fact that it is, from a screenplay perspective, does not work. I mean, it's almost like a Wes Anderson film done by David O. Russell, only really terribly done. I mean, I can't stress enough that this is a film that will go nowhere during award season. Nowhere. And that's my comments on Amsterdam. Let's keep tonight nice and tight, okay? Because it's really about Amsterdam. Maybe if you went to see Don't Worry, Darling, we could talk about that, although I really want to save that for Thursday, but we can do a little of that. If you have a question about Amsterdam, go for it. Marvin G, welcome to the channel. I really appreciate it. Love the live streams. Thanks for keeping it real. That's what we're trying to do here, Marvin, and thank you for subscribing and joining. That's what this is, right? It's live, it's unfiltered, and it is real. If there's one thing, you can say whatever you want about me as a film person, but the one thing that you can't say is that he is fake. He is a shill. Never going to happen. Ever. It goes against my very fiber of my being. So I wanted to, listen, I went to go see this film tonight wanting to like it. I like David O. Russell. I liked Joy. Shocking, right? I really did enjoy Joy. I like American Hustle. Not as big on Silver Lining Playbook, because I still like it more than Amsterdam. But one of my main problems with Silver Linings Playbook is the fact that it is an issue for me when I watch Bradley Cooper and Jennifer Lawrence in a relationship. When I first watched the film, this is when Jennifer Lawrence was still coming up, right? She wasn't as big a star. And Bradley Cooper was, bigger in the film world than she was, although she obviously had Winter's Bone and she was coming up through Hunger Game, all that. But when I watched Silver Linings Playbook, I said, they're a brother and sister. They're not lovers. That's my initial reaction to it. It didn't work for me. That's why I don't like the film. I don't think it works because the relationship doesn't work for me. Still, better film than Amsterdam. Okay, so thank you, Marvin. Really appreciate it. Probably why Disney had Amsterdam skip the festivals, because they knew it was not an Oscar contender. That would very make sense, JT. Ultimately, if you know you don't have a winner, and they had to know it, you got to know it. After watching Amsterdam, you have to know that this is a non-starter, right? This is what we call an awards non-starter. That you have to know that. And that's got to be the situation. It's just, and here's the other reality of Amsterdam. that the reviews are going to destroy it, okay? And then what's going to happen is it's already in trouble from a box office perspective. This is a film that only appeals to a very tiny segment of the movie-going population, even with the stars, even with Bale, even with Margot Robbie, with John David Washington, with Rami Malek, whoever you want to throw in there, Taylor Swift. It still is a small, more of a niche film, right? It's not a big David O. Russell. It's not ever going to be a Silver Linings Playbook. It certainly isn't even a Joy. It's going to be smaller. And when the reviews come out, it's going to be even more collapse. This film is going to absolutely implode. Okay. There is no question whatsoever that Amsterdam, when it comes out, will completely and utterly implode upon itself, and it's over. That's just the reality of the situation. Okay. Do I want to come on here and tell you these things? Did I look forward to watching Amsterdam tonight and then coming out and saying this is not going anywhere? No, I always want to see a good film. And I said this, I was talking to someone on the way home, fellow member of Critics' Choice, and we were talking, and I said, listen, I wanted to like the film so much that I kept giving it chances, right? You just go, okay, let's give it another chance. It's David O. Russell. We're going to give it another chance, even though I am staying even, and we're just talking about what's on the screen. But still, David O. Russell, big stars. Mm-hmm. And then eventually you just have to say, get the shovel and bury the film. It's dead. You can't, the chances are done. The movie's going nowhere. And that's the reality. Drew Ryan, welcome to the channel again. I think it's fair. I think that's a very fair comment. John David Washington comes off as robotic at times. I think the best thing that John David Washington did, BlacKkKlansman, there's zero question that is his number one film. I think he's actually good in that. It works. What he's doing in that film works with him. Now, when you ask John David Washington to do Tenet, where he's got to show a little bit more emotion, have a little more fun with this insane Nolan script, okay, that makes no sense to anybody. You have to have fun with it like Robert Pattinson was doing. And I think that's missing in Tenet, okay, no question. And then tonight in Amsterdam, he has a very big role. Bale is going to be your lead here, and Washington would be supporting, although they're very close. You could call them co-leads. But we'll just say it's Bale and then Washington just because the story starts with Bale. Either way, Washington's required to carry a load here, a pretty heavy load. Bale carries the majority of it, but still, he has a lot. And this is a film with comedic timing that you really have to nail, and you have to be nuanced, and you have to be wide open. And I think these are things that John David Washington does not do very well. I think that's absolutely a fair thing. JT, I think that's going a little far. Listen, we can disagree on John David Washington, but I think calling him a great actor is going way too far. I mean, way, 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 way too far. We can say competent actor, and I can say BlacKkKlansman, and we can say that was a solid performance by him, and I would agree. But now with Tenet, and now we have Amsterdam, I'm starting to say to myself, we have an actor that is very limited. We cannot put John David Washington into a role that requires more than just the very basic, essential work out of an actor. And again, I think the other issue that's working here in Amsterdam is very obvious. When you have someone who is a virtuoso, who is one of the best pure actors in the game, in Christian Bale, again, someone who commits to every single film he's in, 150% plus. Okay, this is a guy who is different in every role. That's the thing about Christian Bale. So many actors are the same person. Watch a George Clooney. George Clooney, who I like, is George Clooney in every movie, right? And that's true for a lot of actors. I would even say a Brad Pitt. Occasionally, like a 12 Monkeys, you get something a little different from him. But in general, Brad Pitt's Brad Pitt. George Clooney. But when you watch Christian Bale, you're going to get something different from him out of every performance. He has the ability, the range to operate within and create different characters. And John David Washington does not. So when you have Bale, one of the best, going up against someone who's going to struggle already, that's a recipe for disaster, right? It's you have to bring your game up at that point when you're against somebody. And a great example is The Woman King. Just watched it the other night, right? You got Viola Davis and this newcomer who is electrifying, but she has to step into the scene with Viola Davis and work and make the film go and not become a liability in the scene, and she does. Here you have Bale doing his thing, and then you have John David Washington, and then you have this situation where one is too strong and is overpowering and really brings out the lesser qualities in the other, right? Because you don't want that. You want it to at least mesh where they're on the same level or very close. You do not want somebody who is too strong on top of someone who is weak. That's not going to work, and that's what happens in Amsterdam. It's just the reality of it, guys. It's not. These are never. Let's get one thing again perfectly straight here on MMT. None of these things are ever personal. These are just observations and evaluations based on my many years of watching films and determining what works and what doesn't, and not just determining that, but drilling down on the specifics as to why it doesn't work or it does work. Not just the generality of it works, and then you're like, well, I don't know why. Well, I can tell you why. Because the screenplay is great, because the cinematography, because the score, because the direction is top notch, because the performance is right. But then when we start talking about things that don't work, you're talking about these kind of things where you have to be able to get under the hood and say, here's why it's not working. I can tell you precisely why. Because you have a strong actor on top of an actor who is not going to be able to match that, in addition to a screenplay that is extremely convoluted and is not whimsical. It tries to be this whimsical, cutesy, fun thing, and it's not. It is not Wes Anderson. And I'm not even the biggest Wes Anderson all the time, but at least with Wes Anderson, we can say this, that he will give you a really well-made film. I mean, the way that he shoots films, the way that he slides the camera around, the cinematography and the production design, that is masterful from Wes Anderson. Here you have David O. Russell doing something like that, but it's minus all of that artistic value. It just has, hey, let's have the camera up in your face, this kind of artistic cinematography that doesn't work with a screenplay that's a completely flat screenplay. Joy was terrible, Brian. No, listen, here's the thing. Joy, for whatever reason, even though I understand it's not a great film, I liked it for Jennifer Lawrence's performances and some of the, pay, what you get at the end, right? So when you get that pay for your money, you're waiting for those final scenes to come through, and I think Joy does that. But here's the thing I said about a Russell at the top, is that, bring the tweet back up, the reaction tweet. Given the heat on David O. Russell, so we know that right now, David O. Russell is under a tremendous amount of pressure from people because they've heard all the stories about David O. Russell and his persona on set. It was Lily Tomlin, right? Who, there's the video of him being a complete, let's call it what it is, a-hole to her. And when you have that in the era of Me Too and you have it on camera, it's a really bad look. And David O. Russell is not canceled, right? But let's talk about, the sliding scales of power. When you have a film that is bad, like Amsterdam, you are now opening yourself up to the attacks. The way that you cover up yourself and you want to protect yourself, in this case, if you're David O. Russell, is you want to deliver a great film. You want to deliver a film that's going to be an Oscar contender across multiple categories. That way people go, oh, David O. Russell, yeah, he's kind of a jerk off screen, but look at Amsterdam. This is a really wonderful film. I mean, I'd argue, some people say it's a masterpiece. No one's going to say that about Amsterdam. So now we're focusing, because the movie is so just a complete throwaway. Now you're there as David O. Russell going, uh-oh, I'm naked. I don't have the protection, the veil of a great film that I can shield myself from everybody. That's the analysis you get here at MMT, and you guys know what I'm talking about. It's kind of like in sports. If your team is in trouble, what's the one thing that cures all ailments in sports? You win. Ask the Jets yesterday. The Jets coach was like dead and buried. And oh, by the way, the Jets win. And now it's like, hey, the Jets are great. Same thing here. If David O. Russell delivers an outstanding film in Amsterdam, then we start talking about his off the field, behind the camera stuff less. But now you're opening yourself up. It's like, hey, gloves are down, take your shot, because the film's bad. The film is really bad. Okay. as a Bale head, is Amsterdam at least watchable for Christian Bale? No, I can't recommend you even watching Amsterdam for Christian Bale. Here's the truth. Let me just even get real, even more real than we already were. I'm trusting we've been real. I feel bad for every single person that's in this film, to the point where you said, oh, well, listen, you signed on for a David O. Russell movie. We're going to be in this based on a true story, this historical tale of what happened, in 33. But here's here's the problem. It's so off the rails bad and nearly unwatchable, not because of the performances or the cinematography or the direction. It's so boring and it's so flat that you watch and you just say, oh my God, I feel bad for Christian Bale. He's really going for it here. And the movie's bad. Do you guys feel me? You know what I'm saying? So, good luck. Good luck. I mean, honestly, I can't believe that I'm saying that. I really can't believe it's as bad as the trailer made it look bad. The film's worse than the trailer. Gone Girl. It's great to hear about Taylor Swift. Huge fan of her, so I'd like to be. She's very good in the film. It's a very small role, right? She has only so many lines, and I'm not going to say what happens to her character, but she's not in the movie long. But when I'm watching Taylor Swift, I'm like, that's pretty good. It's passable. It's not like she's a liability, right? Remember, that's what we're looking for almost in film is you don't want to be a liability. Ultimately, you don't want to be somebody that you have to have covered up, right? Again, back to sports. If you have a terrible player on defense, you cannot leave that player out on an island against a really good wide receiver. A cornerback who sucks, you got to cover up with a safety. That's what the situation is. If Taylor Swift isn't good, then you have a problem because then the film starts to come unglued. But here's the thing. It's not Taylor Swift that's not great. It's John David Washington. So now we have a real problem, right? You have a pop star who's, breaking into acting. She's done some things. She voiced the Lorax, if I'm not mistaken, many years ago. So she's done some acting and she's been in some other things, but this is like kind of one of her bigger things, right? And she is there with Christian Bale and John David Washington in the scene. And of the three, it's not Taylor who's the weakest. I mean, I don't know how else to tell you that. Brian, you're wrong. It's not going to make money because of the cast, because the reviews are going to be so bad on this film. The reviews are going to be savaging. Every single person I talked to on the way home, because I didn't ask. People were calling me. What'd you think? And I go, within 2 seconds, I go, it's really bad. And oh my God, isn't it? I'm like, yep, there we go. Because there's even Scott Mendelson, who is typically hard to determine what he said. He walked out and I saw him and I was getting my ticket validated at the AMC Century City. And I see Mendelson and I'm like, Mendelson. And he looked at me and I go, bad, really bad. And he goes, what do you mean? I go, no. And I know, I haven't seen his reaction, but there's no way, even Mendelson, who can be a little squirrely on the reviews, there's no way he said that Amsterdam's good. Someone show me the tweet. If he did, I swear to God. The Fighter, very good, no question. Three Kings, yes. Silver Linings, don't. Again, my problem with Silver Linings Playbook, Jennifer Lawrence, Bradley Cooper, brother and sister, not lovers. Give me a like. That's true. You guys know it. Go think about that for a minute. When you watch it again, you're going to say brother, sister, not lovers. You're going to say brother, sister. Bad casting. Come on. Come at me. Tell me I'm wrong. You're 100% right, Eric. Again. By the way, we're only going like 30 tonight, so 7-minute warning. 30 minutes is it, and then yanking the cord. It was one of the worst trailers I've ever seen. David, I would agree. It was really bad. You can't have a cast of that magnitude and scale and come away with brilliance. Too many cooks in the kitchen, not enough screen time. There's too much of everything in this film. The screenplay needs to be streamlined. You need to get rid of characters, to your point, and you also need to crush the runtime. This is a film that goes about 2:10, and it feels like it's 4 hours. I'm not kidding. I legitimately felt like I was on a flight from New York to LA to New York. I mean, it was unbelievable. I came out and I'm like, oh, is it still Monday night? It's just not a good film. I'm sorry. I hate to say it, but reality and truth is what we do here at MMT. Who had a better performance in the respective film, Swift or Styles? That's a great question here, Julian. Let me tell you. So Taylor Swift versus Harry Styles. Harry Styles has a bigger role, but Taylor Swift does more with her small role. That said, let's defend Harry Styles right now. Some of you sold Don't Worry Darling. Perfect segue into that because I think we have pretty much crushed and absolutely mauled Amsterdam at this point. Let's talk about Don't Worry Darling for the last segment here. He's fine. Listen, is he exceptional? Is he a liability? No. I would say that Harry Styles is stronger in Don't Worry Darling than John David Washington in Amsterdam. Oh my God, he said it. Eric said it. But I'm just telling you, if you put me and put the magic lasso around me, Wonder Woman, not Wonder Woman 84, because I would not be captured by that craptacular lasso. What a bad film. Don't get me started. I would be compelled to say that Harry Styles in Don't Worry Darling is greater than John David Washington in Amsterdam, which is crazy, but it's really the truth that I have to come to you and speak. Okay. Simon, good evening to you. How do major award season winners drop wide in early October? Sure, they might launch at festivals like Toronto. Usually the latter, the better. No question. Here's the realize. No. I don't even think this is a Globes play. It's such a bad film. You got to understand. It really is a complete unmitigated disaster. Here's the reality of it. When you have a really strong film, you want to release it as close to the end of the awards window as possible. So in this case, that would mean November. For me, I don't even know if I want to do a festival. I know that it goes against everything. I want to debut a film like Searchlight did last year with Nightmare Alley. They dropped it in November, right ahead of the voting deadlines. I think Nightmare Alley is one of the best films of last year. Very happy it got an Oscars Best Picture nomination. I like that strategy because recency bias is real, right? So when you watch a film and you just came out of it, it's fresh in your mind, so you feel good about it. In that way, that film will probably generate more awards heat being a late entry. That's how I want to have my film come in. I think when you look at Babylon, it's sitting there to do exactly that. It's a film that's going to debut in late November, right before all the awards deadlines, and then it's going to end up being, I'm telling you, it's not a hard thing to call. It's going to end up being the biggest Oscar winner across all categories when it comes to Oscars 2023. It is Babylon, Damien Chazelle. There is zero question that if you gave me $500,000 and say put it on one film, I would put all of it on Babylon, and I would go home and sleep well knowing that I was at least going to double my money. Or actually, the odds wouldn't even be that good, but let's just say they were. I would get $1 million out of it because it's gonna win so many. There's no question. It's Chazelle. It's old time Hollywood. Paramount is back. They've got Maverick. They've got Babylon. They have some things to work with, and I think the real struggle for Paramount is going to be how do we spend all of our awards FYC cash across Maverick and Babylon in particular. And then they have some other things they can work, but those two in particular, and you have to figure out which one you want to push. I think you can push both, but they haven't had an awards film since Fences. I mean, Rocket Man, but Rocket Man didn't really materialize like they wanted. So really you go back to Fences. So that's the challenge they have for that. All right, let's go like another 5 minutes tops. The Fighter is David O. Russell's best film. I would agree with that, Ken Murray. Absolutely. All right, here's the early screening of Don't Worry Darling. We'll finish with this. Let's do Don't Worry Darling. I Wish I Didn't Go. Come on now, Gone Girl. There were Harry Styles fans. I liked the twist. And when we talk about this film on Thursday night, when more people have seen Don't Worry Darling, I want to discuss the plot twist at the end, what the reality of the situation was, because I think for me it worked. I was afraid it was going to be one thing, and I'm going to tell you what it was, because at this point, it's not going to ruin the movie, I promise you, because it's not this. I thought it was going to be The Village. I thought we were going to be in a situation where we're stuck in this thing, and by the way, anything outside of that is in modern day, and everything inside of it is stuck in the 60s, like The Village, right? Everything outside of it was modern. Everything back then was, 1700s for Village. I love the idea, but if they did that, then I'd say, wait a second, we already saw The Village. Why'd you do that? That's not what happens. So I was happy about that. So tell me, Chris Gore said he did not like the twist. I would argue that I did like the twist, and Gore, you are wrong. People already talking screenplay Oscars for Bros. Bros is coming out next week. I'll either going to see it this week or I'll see it when it comes out. I want to see it. I'm sure it's going to be fun. I know this. I virtually guarantee that I will have more fun watching Bros, name a movie, any movie, than Amsterdam. I mean, name a movie. I would have more fun watching The Forgiven again, for sure. I mean, at least that's bad, fun bad, right? Laughable bad. Amsterdam is flat bad and embarrassingly lame bad. And I think that, again, I feel bad for everybody involved in the film. It's so, isn't it kind of brutalizing when you say that? I feel bad that you took part in this film, but I bet you, again, if we had the magic lasso and we threw it around Margot Robbie, we said, Margot Robbie, here's your question, compelled by the magic lasso. What do you think of Amsterdam? She said there, I wish I didn't do it. Of course you do. Of course you do, because it's not good. You know, that's the thing about being in a movie like that. I can't imagine that when you're making it, you just know that the film is bad. You're like, oh man, I thought David O. Russell would really be the right, career decision. And then you watch the film, or you're just in the scene and you're just like, oh shit, this isn't going to be good. And your instincts are right. It is absolutely not going to be good. All right, 2-minute warning, then I'm done. I am over tonight. Todd, crazy to believe the new David O. Russell movie, the All-Star Cast, will be lucky to make half of what Lyle Lyle Crocodile makes. Todd, this film is going to flame out. This is going to be a major bomb. I mean, Amsterdam is going to come in at a number at like 5 million. Whatever they thought they were going to get out of this, being David O. Russell and the stars, the reviews and the rotten number on this, when those reviews drop, the rotten number is going to be way under 50%. There is no way that this is a film that's above 50%, okay? And this is a film that needs reviews. And I said this in a tweet, I'm saying it here again. If any critic out there says, yes, go see Amsterdam, but no, don't watch Don't Worry, Darling, then you have my permission to disregard everything that they ever say about film for the remainder of recorded history. Because that is, you can't recover from something like that. Don't Worry, Darling is watchable. I would argue it is very solid. I would say that Florence Pugh is a career best performance. Put all of those things together along with Matthew Libatique's cinematography, and I would say yes. And then you're saying Amsterdam with, I can't think of one reason to watch Amsterdam, not even one. Not even Christian Bale, because the movie's so flat. And you're going to say, so please, next time we do one of these, when the reviews come out, please tell me a critic who says Amsterdam fresh and Don't Worry, Darling rotten. Because at that point, I will go berserk. It'll be so much fun. And we'll wrap like this, because I can't talk anymore about Amsterdam. I'm so disappointed tonight. Smash the like button, subscribe. Let's get me monetized. Thank you, Chris Gore. And please support him in the film, I almost said Film Courage, Film Threat channel. Gore's a great friend. And I wish, as your friend, Chris, that I could tell you, and can you as well, and everybody who's thinking about seeing Amsterdam, that you have something to look forward to. Instead, I say good luck to you, and may the Lord be with you as you watch Amsterdam. And that's going to do it for our stream tonight. We'll be back here on Thursday. Don't Worry, Darling reacts, your thoughts, including some spoilers, because at this point, we're ready to go. Let's do that on Thursday. Go see the film. It's good. I really enjoyed my time with Don't Worry, Darling. I hope you did too. I'll see you Thursday night. For now, MMT is out. I'll see you guys Thursday. Good night.